Hello everyone, welcome to another Classic Movie Monday. I apologize that this video has to be uploaded late. I unfortunately have not been feeling well lately, and as a result I've had to put off making videos pretty much till today, even though I tried yesterday on Friday and I was only able to upload one. But now, after a good night's rest, I'm feeling a lot better. So I'm going to be catching up today, so I'll be sure to be uploading this Classic Movie Monday, as well as the Music Talk Tuesday for the video that should be uploaded today. So I should be caught up with everything by this evening. So, without further ado, let me discuss A Christmas Carol. Yes, as you might have seen over the years, there have been a lot of films that have revolved around A Christmas Carol. So I thought, why not put all of the Christmas carols basically in one big lump classic category, sort of like what I did with the James Bond franchise. Now, I'm not saying that all of the Christmas Carol adaptations are classics, but I think there's a lot of them that do provide that that essence of the traditional story while also providing some new creativity behind the scenes to sort of make the story stand out and provide sort of context. So, as a result, that's why I feel that the majority, at least from what I can tell, of the A Christmas Carol, at least in film, has pretty much been of good quality. Now, I'm not saying all of them. Obviously, not all of them. And some of them you could probably place more in the okay category, not necessarily the classic category. But I would say that there are a lot of adaptations that still seem to hold up to this day, and that we seem to watch. It seems like we watch more of Scrooge rather than really read about Scrooge. So I think it only makes sense to discuss these adaptations and how influential they are. Because basically the whole Scrooge saga actually started right around the time when films were becoming a thing back in the early 1900s. The first ever Scrooge film, or A Christmas Carol film, was made in 1910. And I think it only spans a fairly short amount of time, but at that time it still manages to capture pretty much the whole story. And then there has been this ball rolling for adaptations ever since. It's almost like every other, kind of decade came out with their own version of Scrooge. Like you have a 1920s version, I believe you have a 1930s version, there's like a 1950s version as well. There's pretty much been A Christmas Carol being revisited every now and again. And I think that there's a reason for that. I think it's because that Dickens did write a compelling story, but I also think that there's a lot of creativity that can come from such a source material that you can adapt into film, and I think that's why a lot of these Christmas Carol adaptations have stood out over the years, because there's really a lot of things that you can do with the ghosts. There's a lot of things you can do with the story and setup. There's a lot of things that you can make a little bit more dramatic, or certain parts of the story that you can emphasize a little bit more than maybe what the book does, because again, the book is pretty much a novella. It's really short. So there's a lot of things that resulted in, I think, a lot of creativity within filmmaking that they were able to showcase with this story. And as a result, I think that's why a lot of these films stand out. I'm sure everybody has their favorites and has their interesting understanding of the whole story. But I find it fascinating how we can take the seriousness of the story and make it on that level, or we can totally take a completely comedic spin direction from it. For example, Scrooge, like Scrooged, the movie that stars Bill Murray, takes it from a completely different angle. Um, Similar to, um, I believe it's called the Black Hat Christmas Carol, if I'm not mistaken, um, uh, with uh, with Mr. Bean, in that leading Scrooge kind of role. You know, you really do see the kind of angles that you can take the story with, and I think that's why, as a series of different interpretations, it has stood out over the years as far as filmmaking. Now, am I saying that they're all perfect and that they all deserve maybe probably the same amount of recognition as others? No. But I do think that there is a good chunk of them that do stand out, and even the ones that are not as good, they still got something that they take from the story and they execute that aspect so well. So it's almost like the story almost works into your favor if you make an adaptation of A Christmas Carol. Yes, there are ones that are duds, that are not worthy of the classic status, but I do think that there have been a lot of adaptations that have come and gone that have proven to show time and time and again a certain amount of creativity, a certain amount of passion for the story, and as a result, I think we end up getting good adaptations because of it, and that's why I would definitely place a lot of these films within the classic category. Now, as to regards to people's favorites, I'm sure everybody has their own favorites or their own uh, their own feelings about which adaptations should be labeled classics, and I totally understand that. But at the end of the day, I think there is a certain amount of creativity that has come from all of these various adaptations over the years, and I think it's definitely worth looking into if you're interested in something that again is a little bit more traditionally Christmas, a little bit more focused in on a holiday, rather than on something that's kind of out there and goofy. For example, like Die Hard or On the Nightmare Before Christmas. This is definitely something that's a little bit more up, I think, the traditional alleyways. But and again, that all kind of depends on which interpretation you end up watching of A Christmas Carol. But there's tons of them out there. There's a lot of um, different takes and different stories that they still end up adapting with the Scrooge sort of plot line. And I think overall it really works. And I think there have been a lot of successes made from doing these adaptations. And again, I'm not saying that some of them are as strong as others, but I think that as a category of films, they have sort of stood out as kind of a kind of crowning example of what we would call a series of good adaptations, with some duds and probably some that are just on the okay level. But at the same time, sort of capturing that magic that was sort of part of the original story. Now, do I think that they should continue making more Christmas Carol movies? I think it's pretty much spelled out its run. There's plenty already that we have that we can explore. I don't think we really need another interpretation. I think it's already been done through animation. It's been done through even the Muppets. I mean, there's all these different ones that have taken it to the story to different forms. But again, I think we're pretty much Scrooged out. I think, at least at this point. And I think at the same time, that's why I consider, again, these films to be more of in the classic category, because usually the ones that I think are a little bit older are the ones that I think actually are a little bit better in terms of quality. But I'm sure there's some that will say, no, this one came out fairly recently, and I think it's the greatest one. But yeah, there's just a lot out there to explore. So I think that's why I definitely would place this in this category of worthiness. But ultimately, I think that's really all I can say. If there are any questions, comments, concerns, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a pleasant day, week, month, and year. And I hope to see you all in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.